Hi, how are you? My name is Ulysses Tapley, and I run the chess club at Rogers Memorial Library in Southampton. And today we want to begin a series of teaching you how to play chess. Chess is a wonderful two-player board game, and there's so much to learn with chess. It's fun and it's enjoyable. So if you like strategy, if you like problem solving, if you like games that help you to plan ahead and things of that nature, you're at the right place at the right time. I would like to begin with the board. The board, chessboard, has 64 squares, and this is our battlefield. All our pieces travel on the chessboard, and our board has letters and numbers on them. This is a tournament type of board, but you can find this board online anywhere online, and it's pretty reasonable, cost board. It's flexible, so you can roll it up and take it with you wherever you go. All right. So um, the board has numbers and letters on them because they're called chess notations, and they're used to be able to record your games. And some people even play blindfold chess, which is absolutely out of this world. I don't know how people do it, but some people have memories that they can play blindfold chess. But any game you play at chess, that the moves can be recorded. All right. So if you look at this board here, it's probably, I'll have to turn the board around this way so that you could see it probably better. If you see on the the bottom of the board, you see one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and eight. Goes all the way up to eight. All right. We have 8 rows of eight, and all these squares have a name. So if you point to one square, you find the coordinates of where the number is and where the letter meets. That's the name of that square. All right. So now you know what the name of all the squares are. Uh, this is E1. I'll turn the board around. This is E8, E7, E6, E5, E4, E3, E2, E1. All right. Same thing for the A file, the B file, C file, D file, E file, F file, G file, and H file. Now, the way you look to see that your board is set up correctly is that the light colored square is on your right hand side. Okay. If the board is set up with the dark square on the right hand side, the board is not set up correctly. Okay, so we want to make sure that the chess board is set up correctly with the light colored square in the right hand side. Okay, now most wooden chess sets do not have the chess notations on it unless you purchased it at a chess store or online. But if you go into a regular store and you buy a chess set, you're not going to see these chess notations on them. You would have to probably write it on a little piece of paper, put tabs on it, put the numbers all the way from 1 to 8, then put letters horizontal from 8 to H on there. And then you could have basically your chess notations that way on the side of your board. But moving forward, I would like to teach you as well is that where the pieces sit on the board. Okay, so we'll do that now. All right. So, and we'll identify the pieces as well. How about that? Okay. So we have 2 rooks. They go on the far edges of the board. We have 2 knights. They go inside the rooks. We have two bishops. They go inside the knights. We have a queen, and we have the king, the most important piece. The queen is the most powerful piece, but the king is the most important piece. When you play the white pieces, the queen goes on the white square, and the king goes right alongside of it. All right. So we have our rook, knight, bishop, queen, king, bishop, knight, rook. Now we put the pawns on the board. You get 8 pawns. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've been playing chess for 35 years plus, and I absolutely love this game. Absolutely love this game. I got hooked, and I went to my neighbor's house one day when I was a young lad, so to speak, and I was at his house and I saw this chessboard on his coffee table, and I said, "What is that?" He says, "That's chess." He says, "You ever heard of chess before?" I said, "No, I never heard of chess before." He says, "You want to learn how to play it?" I said, "Sure." Ever since then, I've been playing chess. I hope you enjoy this game as well as I have, because it is amazing. And chess is played throughout the world. They believe that it's somewhere around over 600 million people play chess worldwide. It can be played on a computer. They even used to play correspondence chess, where they would mail in their moves to an opponent somewhere around the world or in the United States. So it is a great game. It's a especially great game for kids. It really helps kids to focus and concentrate. So in that aspect of chess, it's very educational as well. Okay, so I'll begin to put the black pieces on. I tell you what, yeah, we'll put the pawns on. We can put the pawns on first. It doesn't matter. All right, first pawns on here. Now we put our pieces behind the pawns, because the pawns always, they're your soldiers. They're front and center of your pieces. Okay, so our rooks, edge of the board, our knights in between our rooks, on the inside of our rooks. Our bishops in between, right? And our queen gets her own color. So the black square, the dark square, the queen sits on that square, and our king right alongside of it. Okay? That's how we set the board up. So when you're playing chess, it's a two-player board game. You make a move, your opponent makes a move. In chess, the white pieces move first, they move out first, and then the black pieces start to move out. You're trying to checkmate your opponent's king. You're trying to trap that king, and not only trap the king, but have it in check. And that would be checkmate. So my opponent's forces are coming after my king. My forces of my pieces are coming after my opponent's king. All right. So what I'm going to do is teach you how the pawns move. So we'll take all of our pieces off here. Okay. I'll even take these off for right now. Give you a better visual. Okay. Now, the pawns are your soldiers. They are going to protect your pieces. They're going to protect other pawns. And they're going to go out and control areas of the board. all right? They love controlling the center of the board. So that is a very good rule of thumb to remember. Your pawns like to control the center of the board, okay? That greatly increases your chances of winning. All right, so now the pawns from their point of origin can move 1 square forward, or it could move 2 squares forward from its point of origin, from its starting gate. Any one of these pawns can move either 1 square forward or 2. Okay. So let's say if I wanted to move this just 1, I would just move it 1. Same thing for any one of these pawns. If I want to move it 1 square forward, I can just move it just 1 square forward. Then now it would be my opponent's turn to make their move. Okay. All right. All right. I want to move it 2 squares forward for this pawn. 2 squares forward. Then my opponent would make his or her move. Okay. Now I'm going to put the black pawns on the board. Let's say you were playing me. And we like to introduce the pawns by a game called the pawn race. Okay. Now, one of the great things about pawns is that they can be promoted. So if we can get any one of these 8 pawns, if I was able to get any one of my 8 pawns behind my opponent's back rank, any one of them, wherever that pawn lands on any one of these squares, it can be promoted. What we mean by promoted is it can become a stronger piece. It can become another queen. You might even have a queen on the board already, but your pawn that gets over behind your opponent's back rank can be promoted to another queen, greatly increasing your chances of winning a game. Your pawn can become a rook. Your pawn can also become a knight or a bishop. But if you want the power of all of those pieces, the queen is your best choice. The only piece that the pawn cannot turn into, be promoted into, is the king. You can't have 2 kings in chess, only one. Okay. All right. So now I'll start to show you again the movement of the pawns. So let's say, for instance, I want to move this pawn up 2 spaces forward. That's a great move because pawns should come out from the center of the board. The most important part of chess, when it comes to pawns and your pieces, is controlling the center. Okay? So it's this square here, this square, this square, and this square. These 4 squares in the middle of the board are the most important squares to control. If you can control the center of the board and some of the surrounding areas right around the center of the chessboard, you have a good chance of having a better game against your opponent. Okay? So we decided to move this pawn up 2 squares. Let's say our opponent says, I'm going to move up 2 squares in front of our pawn, my pawn, right? So now what we have here, these 2 pawns are blocked because pawns cannot move forward if there is an existing pawn or piece in front of it. It can no longer move any further. All right. So these 2 pawns are blocked. All right. The black pawn is blocking me, and I'm blocking the black pawn. Okay. So now let's say I decided for me to show you how the pawns capture, I decided to move my other center pawn 2 squares forward. Now the pawn can move in another direction. And the only other direction for a pawn to move, other than moving forward, is when it captures. It captures diagonally. So when I push this pawn up 2 squares, it is directly diagonal to the black pawn. Does everybody see that? Hope you see it. Okay, that's how they capture. Now let me show you how they capture. So now it's black's turn to move. So he would push this pawn out of the way and replace the pawn that he's capturing with his or her pawn, black pawn, and put it to the side of the board. And now that pawn is out of the game. Okay. So now it's my turn. For the sake of this lesson, let's say I made this silly move and pushed this pawn diagonal to my opponent's pawn, the black pawn here. My opponent does not have to capture my pawn, but my opponent can continue advancing forward. And guess what? I cannot stop that pawn because pawns do not capture side to side and they don't capture backwards on a diagonal. So there's nothing. I've already lost this pawn race game. Okay. So let's say I continue, move the pawns. All my opponent now has to do is just push this pawn. He doesn't even have to push any other pawns. Say I move another one. And now my opponent moves to my back rank, and now I would shake hands with my opponent, say good game, and my opponent won. Okay? Now, in a real game of chess, this pawn would have to be promoted. It can no longer stay a pawn. So that's why I show you this game called the pawn race, so you'll be able to understand what happens when a pawn gets promoted. So now this pawn can turn into either a queen, a rook, or a knight, or a bishop. But chess is a game of logic. So wouldn't you want to go for the most powerful piece on the board? I know I would. So the way you promote this pawn is you take the pawn off the board, and now you place the queen right where that pawn was when it got promoted. And now that pawn is now a queen. Okay? Doesn't matter how many queens you get. You can have 2, you can have 3, you can have 4. The most I've ever seen in a game was 4 queens. I have never seen anything past 4 queens. Extremely rare because your opponent knows in the end game, pawns are extremely important. Extremely important. So now we know how the pawns move. And now we decided for the queen, that pawn to become a queen. So that's all for today. I would like to say to you to be well and have a great day. I'll see you on the next lesson. Bye.